Ellie, what's your topic?
My topic is buying versus renting.
Please expand. The floor is yours now, Ellie. Go ahead. You know what's actually funny? The audio version, the video version is actually recording. So what we said isn't audio approved, but we can still put it on the whole video. So if you guys actually want to go see the first 7 minutes, it's just kind of a repeat. You can watch the video.
Did you turn that on?
That was on. I know that was on because I saw the red button. This wasn't on. I should have saw that red thing. Look at how blatant that is, like in front of it. It's like a red dot with red writing, almost like, you know, like a legit recording studio.
Yeah.
And that wasn't there.
No.
And the light and the recording light button wasn't on. Very good. Well done, Galen. So, Ellie, topic. Go ahead.
At least we didn't do the whole thing.
Imagine that. I got it 7 minutes in. We're good.
So owning versus renting, there are pros and cons to both. Renting is not always a bad idea depending on where you are in life. I would say cost-wise, it's not always a tremendous difference. Because you're going to ultimately end up paying for your landlord's mortgage and taxes and insurance and whatnot, depending on where you're renting and what you're renting, obviously. But if you're renting, my 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment was pretty close to my 3-bedroom, 2-bath mortgage. And so I guess cost-wise, I wouldn't say there's a huge difference. Again, it depends on where you are. But as far as big expenses go, renting is certainly cheaper. If the roof needs to be replaced, you're not paying for that as a renter. If really any kind of damages happen, that's unless damages happen to your belongings, in which case have renter's insurance. Friend a little tad bit, but those are the pros to renting. You don't have to deal with maintenance on your own. If the window breaks, if the roof is leaking, if your toilet floods, you're calling your landlord. You're not paying for a plumber or an electrician or a contractor to come in and take care of it. And that can be a pretty significant roadblock for people who are looking to buy, just being able to have that and the upfront cost of buying. But the pros of owning your own place are you don't have to deal with a crappy landlord. If the roof is leaking, you can fix it. You don't have to wait on someone else to fix it. You can paint the walls whatever color you want to paint them. It's your property. You don't have to worry about being evicted just because the landlord's selling the property or whatever reasons. You can do really whatever you want with it.
Yeah, I think if somebody's renting, the ideal renters or people that should be renting are people that do not plan to be in a spot long term. Mm-hmm. And if you're only going to be in a location for maybe 1 to 3 years, I probably wouldn't buy. I would just rent because I don't think you're gonna make your money back that quickly by buying and trying to sell. I would just rent. Or you're somebody that does not want to do maintenance, meaning, and there's some people that are just like, hey, I know I'm not getting equity. I'm throwing 100% of my payment out each month to somebody else. None of it's going back and being reinvested into from an equity point.
Yeah.
You cannot benefit from appreciation in the value of the property, but they understand that and they would rather not have to deal with anything. So if they don't want to mow the lawn, if there's a fix, they don't want to fix it. If there's damage to the outside of the house, they don't want to fix it. But obviously the negative of that is you do not get the appreciation in value and you don't get the monthly build-up in equity. So buying a home is a long-term investment. So if you're buying a house, the value of the property is going to go up. Like over the long term, you will make more money / save more money. For the short term, it's better to rent in the sense of if you're not staying in an area for a long time, or you're someone that's older that's like, hey, listen, I just don't want to deal with maintenance anymore. I'll pay my rent.
Yep.
I want to just not really have I don't want to be tied down where I can get out of it within a month or whenever my lease ends. So there's pros and cons to both depending on what you want to do. To me, if you're established in an area and you want to stay in an area long term, I would buy because the long-term payoff is going to be there and it's going to make way more sense to purchase.
You'll be paying your mortgage instead of your landlord's.
Yeah, and turn around 10, 20, 30 years, values, I don't know the last time homes really went down over the long term. Most homes, if you go through history, I take it 30 years ago, we've gone up and down in the economy, but ask any of your parents what they bought their home for back in the 70s and 80s, they're probably double, triple, 4x what they bought it for back then because they put improvements in and just the natural appreciation of the market over 30 plus years. They're going to be able to make a lot more money back with their house. And that's when it's nice when all of a sudden it's like, hey, their house is paid off 10 years into it and they spent the last 20 years not having a mortgage payment, basically paying their taxes and living for free. So there's definitely pros and cons. Just kind of figure out where you guys are at in the process and kind of where you are in life stage.